Pelado Creations. So, for those of you that were with us last night, you know that my wife wanted me to make copycats of this little angel that she got from Hobby Lobby a few years ago before I was really doing any woodworking type stuff. And so I produced this guy. She wanted the much bigger wings, and she seems to think it looks a lot better. Obviously, this hasn't been finished. I don't have a little heart or anything on it, but she likes the bigger wings much better than what came from the Hobby Lobby. And this is a hat, and both of these really are hats that she got me for Christmas. So advertising the old Pelado Creations. And there's some merchandise on the live, not these hats, don't have those available yet, but there's some other stuff, some hoodies and shirts and stuff if you want to participate in a Pelado Creations revolution, I guess. Whatever. Also, we're going to make some more angels tonight, but probably a little bit smaller. Also, I'm going to change the wing design a little bit so it's easier for me, because having all this detail in it makes it way harder to sand and kind of clean it all up and get it completed. So we're going to make things easier for me, which is most important, and we'll go from there. Feel free to jump into the chat. Tell us where you're watching from. Which of these do you like better? And we'll go from there. Let me just check in on our chat and see. Hey, Pine and Note, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us. Plywood, thanks for being here, man. All right. So with that, let's get started. So we're here to the workbench. I haven't cleaned up since last night because I'm lazy. And I figured I'd just be making another mess with the same kind of stuff as last night. So why bother cleaning everything up? Let me go put this hat out of harm's way. It doesn't get all dusty and such. That way I only have to clean one hat. All right, I'll move the homemade router table out of the way. All right, so, Pine Notes in Nashville. You doing some singing there in Nashville? Got some talented people in our chat today. Hey, Billy, thanks for being here, man. And Lawrence is here as well. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. All right. Off to a great start. All these fine people in the chat. All right, so I made this out of for those of you that were watching last night, you know that I knocked over my stack of maple that's drying over here. I think Pine and Oak, I think you said that it was curly maple. I'm not sure if it is or not. I'll show you a few examples of it. And the guy I got it from said it was maple, but it certainly seems hard enough to be maple. But what I was going to say is last night, those of you that are watching know that I knocked it over and just kind of stacked it haphazardly. But that's kind of what it looks like. That definitely seems to have a little bit more curl to it. All right, so I'll just do one more. And then I'll stack this stuff back up. So it is not in the way. So just trying to let this stuff dry. And I've been meaning to put it in the kiln over here. So I've got a bunch of the rest of the maple in the kiln right now. I opened it all up. So right now it's registering as 69.6 degrees Fahrenheit. But I had it up over 90 degrees yesterday before I opened it all up. So that's everything in there is already dry. So I could switch it over so that this stuff is in there, because this stuff isn't quite dry yet, not dry enough to use, and that stuff is. But I need to think about where I want to put that stuff. I've got a fair amount of storage space on the shelving up there, and I'd like to lay it mostly flat. But I've got a bunch of other stuff up there. Maybe I could scoot that stuff down more over there and have the maple more over here, but kind of need the length of this one for all that redwood that I resalvaged from some decks. So, we'll see. Looks like curly maple to you? Sweet. All right, so what I was trying to say earlier is that those of you who were here last night, in addition to seeing me knock over the maple, also saw me make this guy, and I cut him from here. So he was, let's see, remember right? This was positioned kind of like that, and this guy came from here. And yeah, something like this. And where was this guy? No, there we go. I'm really good at puzzles. And then I've got some other scrap pieces over there. But I'm going to make like some half-size ones out of some of the rest of this stuff here. So need to take some measurements and shrink it down so that I'm getting half the size. And my wife made me a little template for the wing. So this was the original wing that was already there, so I'd know how to position it. And so that's kind of what I used for the template on these guys. But I'm going to try and do this without her assistance, which is definitely a risk. In part because I am not particularly artistic. So let's see what we can do. All right. So that guy is about 11 inches. So if we figure 5.5, all right, that should give us half the height. I wonder though if I should just use this entire height here. All right, and then we've got yeah, that's pretty bad. Can you guys see how bad I'm drawing this out? No? All right. I'll try and give you a better look at just how poorly I'm doing at this. All right. Okay. This is my eraser. And really, what I should be doing is just making this on paper. So, really that. Let's see, I'm just trying to figure out how much of the paper I should be using here. Because I figure I'll use, whoa, try not to drop the camera. I figure I'll use this section of this board, hopefully not too cracked, and then this guy. So just go like this. And all right. So where did I put my scissors? There's some right there. All right, so all right, and then I'll measure it on this one. Ah, these are not particularly good scissors. All right, so now I know that this will fit in both spots. All right, so, all right. Okay, those guys. Something like that. Okay. All right, and then got oh, that didn't draw in very well, did it? Okay. All right. We need that to go out further. Say something like that. What do y'all think? Does that work? And let's see. Let's see how that does. All right. So now I'll cut that out with my not so great scissors. I'll use that as my template on the wood. Yeah, that's a little tenuous. All right. So we now trace that out on the wood pieces. Yeah. Let's see. Of course, it moved a little. And to lay right with my left hand is even more laughable than with my right. Because like the Dread Pirate Roberts, I am not left-handed. All right. I'm going to take that up there. I think we're relatively clear on that. Okay. So there's one. And this other one. Let's see. Is that the, that's pretty clean. We'll just bring it down here to there. All right. All right, so I think we're ready to start cutting stuff up. So I'm going to start on the miter saw. I'll move this guy out, and then we'll move to the bandsaw. So let me get things set up in the shop. I've got most of the tools here in the shop set up on on wheels, so they're relatively easy to move around. Let's see, miter saw first. All right. So this is pretty messy from the pieces that didn't work for my watch display case. This is the last long form video I made. So, all right. So I'll plug this guy in. I'll get the dust collection connected. I just use Syntec hose and connectors for relatively quick and easy connections as I fumble with the connection there. All right, I'll get some eye protection and ear protection. I'll use these guys. And so I think first I'll cut here, and then over here. Probably should have cut this before laying out the angel, but that way I know I'd have a relatively square cut there. But I don't think it's going to matter that much. Yeah, we should be fine. There we go. All right, turn on the dust collection. All right. Now I've got that and that we can move to the bandsaw. So I'll disconnect my power and my vacuum hose. Move the miter saw out of the way. Move the bandsaw into the way. And move my bandsaw fence out of the way. Connect to power. Connect You vacuum. All right, and try to get you as good an angle as I can here. I'm actually going to adjust this a little bit because last night I noticed that if I can get you a little closer look. I noticed that there was a little bit too much side-to-side play with the blade because the guides that I have back there aren't quite as close as I want them to be. So I'm going to loosen those. And then you see how when I move those guys right there, so I've got a little guide on this side, a little guide on that side. So they should be barely not touching when it's free, but providing support whenever there's tension on the blade. So hopefully that's enough. You know, I probably don't have the blade, I probably don't have the guide far enough in or far enough forward. Because I've got a little bit of play right there. So just going to adjust that forward an eensy bit. Just so I want those guides to be right behind the teeth of the blade. So where they're not touching the teeth, but they're basically supporting everything behind the teeth. So I think that gets me where I want to be. If I can this Allen key back in to tighten it up. Let me try this side. There we go. Oh, no, we don't go. There we go. All right. And I'll give you a side view here. And my clearance should be pretty good because that's the same clearance that I had yesterday. But you know what I think I want to do before cutting these down? This is not particularly wet on the backside. Yeah, neither is that. The faces seem pretty good, and I don't really want to remove what I've just drawn those on. So, but yeah, I definitely want to get rid of that rocking, especially before I start working on the blade. So before we do the bandsaw, let's get out something else. Oh, bedtime for you, plywood? All right. Thanks for being here, man. Hey, Mike is making stuff. What am I doing? I am trying to make some angels. So my wife bought this from Hobby Lobby. Mike, my wife bought this from Hobby Lobby a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, before I was really doing any woodworking. And so she wanted me to make something similar. but she wanted bigger wings on the angel, right? So we saw this as we were putting our Christmas decorations away the other day. And so last night I made this, and she likes it a lot better. I don't know if anyone else does. So you be the judge, right? So now she wants me to make a couple more like this, but smaller. So kind of some baby angels to accompany the tall angel. So that's what I'm working on today. But I'm going to make the wings a lot smoother here because it just makes it a lot easier for me to sand and process. So that is what we're in the process of doing right now. So I've got these guys with the design on them, but the back side is not particularly flat. These are just, you know, some old shipping container wood that I am using. So I'm going to unplug this guy and move him out of the way. So before using the bandsaw, I'm going to use planer. So let me move some more stuff out of the way here. A table saw and miter saw and router table. And I'll get out. This is this is the other board that I was thinking to use, the tall one. Before I used the board that the board that those came from. So, all right. So let me get out the dust extractor here, and the planer. Ooh. I guess I didn't turn it off last time, or probably more likely I did turn it off, but maybe there were some visitors to the shop that were messing around with things that they aren't supposed to. So that's probably a little more likely. You feel slighted? Why is that, Mike? Chevy, good to see you, man. Chevy 5-speed. Appreciate you being here. All right. So, one of these days, I'm going to make the cart for the planer and dust extractor. It'll be on wheels. It'll be up high or higher. It'll be a lot easier for me to work with and not have to pull it out from under the workbench all the time. One of these days, I will actually do it. Maybe. Of course, once I do that, what am I going to store under the workbench, right? All right. So, I need to raise this up a fair amount. And need to get the hose to connect the dust extractor to the planer. All right. So, yeah, that's pretty flat. but it's like I do have a lip right there. I'm gonna have to adjust that one of these days. For now, though, I'm not gonna worry about it that much. All right, so let's start it there. And like I said, I'm going to put these angels down. So the angel side on down as I run them through. And let me get some ear protection back on. Still have my eye protection on. All right, that should be flat enough for my purposes. Way better than they were before. All right. So now let me take all this stuff and put it away. Another downside to not having the cart set up yet is that now I have to put it all away. All right. And I think I'll just put the hose away by throwing it over there. That should work. All right. Ugh. It's not heavy. Ugh. All right. Now back to the bandsaw. All right. Hook up my power, hook up my dust extraction, put on my ear protection again, and take out our first angel. So that is my blade guard is high enough that I've got clearance there. This is much flatter, feel much safer than I did before. Yep, ear protection. Yeah, safety glasses, ear protection. Hey, I gotta protect all these senses. All right, here we go. The tripod got in the way a little bit there. Here's the first one. What do you think? I'm looking at it. I think my wing here might be a little taller and pointier than over there, and not as thick, even though I didn't go in the line as much on this side. So I think I'm going to try to clean up this right in here a little bit, and maybe I'll try to take out a little bit more in here, try and make this a little bit closer to that side. That's probably good enough. We've got a little bit more rounded there. And you might have noticed that I wasn't cutting that with the front of the blade. That was just kind of using the blade to shave it, kind of coming from the back. So that way you can do kind of micro adjustments without taking a big chunk out. At least that's been my experience. But I don't really have that much experience. So, all right, let's try the next one. What do you guys think? Is that going to work? Hey, Scood, got Lawrence in here. Thanks for being here, Lawrence. Appreciate it. All right. Let's give you all, let me see if I can get you an angle that shows the blade a little bit better. I want to give you as good a view as I can without obstructing my ability to make the cuts I need to here. So let me just see if that impedes me too much. Actually, I'm going to try raising this so I can lower it. Not that much though. Let's see. Right about there. Let's see if that works. We'll try that. See how that does. All right, let me know what you guys think. Is this view better than the what we had before? Looks pretty wonky here. All right. I think I'm fine with that. What do you guys think? Ah. All right, so I've got a bunch of offcuts now. And move those guys out of the way. Oh, there goes my template. I guess I can never make another one. Or I guess I could just use one of the completed pieces as a template. All right. So I'm going to try to do some sanding, and I'm going to start with power, because that's how I prefer to start. Let's see if I've got any. Yeah. I'm just going to use a random orbital. I'll disconnect the power and the vacuum from the bandsaw. I'll add the vacuum and the power to the power sander. I've still got my vision and hearing protection in place. So turn on the vacuum, turn on the sander, and we'll see how we can do on these. All right. So I tried to smooth out as much as I could with the power sander because that is a lot easier to do than with the hand sanding. I also need to do the the faces. In addition to just smoothing it out, though, it also is helping to shape, because like in places we've got, I don't know how easy was it to tell. You can see kind of still probably that there's a little bit of a ridge right there that, you know, is smoothing over with the power sander. That's just a lot easier to do with the power versus having to do that by hand. What's going to suck is trying to get into these tight corners here, where the power sander can't get. But it's a lot easier than having a bunch of tiny corners like I did on this guy. So hopefully this is a little smoother than what I was having to do last night. All right, so you know, it's supposed to be pretty cold around here, or somewhat cold, but it's over 70 degrees in the shop here, so I'm going to take off my sweatshirt. Okay. Much better. And let me just shake this out a little and put it over here out of harm's way. Okay. Whew, much better. All right. So now let me get some sanding implements here. Let's see if I can find the little strip of oak that I was using to assist me last night. Okay. Just have to move all sorts of things out of the way here, including my bicycle that's hanging up here. All right. So, all right. Hopefully that gives me a little bit more working room here. All right. I think I'll use some double-sided tape. And let's see. Where is that little strip of oak? Is it hiding over here with the sandpaper? Huh. Oh, there it is. On the ground, of course, with the double-sided tape from last night. All right. I intend to use that again tonight. But first, I use this guy. And I've got some clean 80 grit. There we go. Some 80 grit that has not yet been used. This is 3M Cubitron 80 grit. So, and looks like it's not going to get much more than I already did with the power sander. Because, as you can see, I'm not going to reach. Not going to reach. Up a little bit there. I got Maybe a bit too tight of a turn there. See if I can. Might be able to get in there a little bit better than with the power sander, but I'm not very hopeful. All right. Time to move on from that to oak. Sanding with oak. This is a little different. I had never used this technique before. I don't know. I'm sure somebody else has done it before, but I don't remember seeing anybody else doing it. But doesn't necessarily mean that nobody else has done it. All right. So it gives me a pretty good hold. And then that's a lot thinner than that. Or even, for that for sure. So it'll allow me to get into these recesses a lot easier. All right. And I've got some stuff in there that I don't really want to have to sand away. I don't know how well you can see it, but I'm going to get out chisel and clean some of that off. right, so seems like that's better. Oops. All right. Stumbled in. Hey, Zach. Thanks for being here, man. Hope you like at least some of what you see. And let me come over to the other side here and you can maybe see a little bit better. Of course, maybe not. Right. So I've got this little mark here that, see if you can see that. I'm not going to try to sand that all the way. Might try to reduce it a little bit. That's just where like a nail or something was, kind of like that guy. So I'm not going to focus too much on that. Trying to shape that a little bit here. All right, so I still have a bunch of bandsaw marks. I don't know how well you can see them, but I can still see them. All right, so I think we're getting to the point that it's pretty close to good enough. My projects don't usually make it to good, but they often make it to good enough. And all right, let's see. This is something I've been fighting with on some scroll saw projects for a while. Thanks, Zach, for contributing here. All the intricate curves and such always seem impossible to do, and it's good to share the struggle. Yeah. I said a needle file, emery boards, and nail file will help too. Oh, good idea. Some use a MAP gas torch to get rid of them. Have to be careful not to carefully burn your projects. Yeah, I've burned projects before. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes not so much. Thanks, guys. So let's see, what were we saying? A needle file, emery boards. I'm not familiar with emery boards. Nail file I'm familiar with. I rarely use it because I chew my nails way too much. Not too much opportunity to use the nail file when the nails are often chewed away. Sorry if that grosses everybody out. All right. One of my nasty habits. One of my many nasty habits. All right. So I think that one is good enough at the 80 grit at least, which is going to be, certainly the most involved. All right. I think I've got a little bit more that I want to do with the chisel on this one. Yeah, maybe on both of those spots. So let me get that back out. I'm struggling a little bit with how to safely use the chisel, but still make it visible for the live stream. So, and this is a chisel that came without a handle, so I put the handle on, but I didn't make this quite tight enough. So probably have to make a new one at some point, especially since I didn't even use hardwood. I just used some cedar, I think. And I'm going to get something that's a little bit wider here. Give me a little bit more support as I'm trying to chisel that out. Right. Didn't even make this opening wide enough for my 1/4-inch chisel to get in. I might have to make this work with the sandpaper instead. All right. Lawrence, your main tool is a scroll saw? Yeah, I've got a scroll saw. It's normally living down there. And right there, covered in dust. I rarely use the scroll saw. I got it used from somebody on Facebook Marketplace a while back. And my problem with the scroll saw is that it just takes so long to cut through anything with that has much thickness. So the bandsaw just has a lot more power to it. So I generally much prefer using the bandsaw. Yeah, poor scroll saw. Hey, Maria, thanks for joining us. Yeah, I mean, something like this, that's just way too thick for my scroll saw to really cut through effectively. It would take forever to cut through something like this. And if I don't have any interior cuts, then the bandsaw, I think, does just as well, if not better, than the scroll saw would. Maybe I'd get a cleaner cut on the scroll saw, so maybe there'd be less sanding at the end. But I just feel like it would take so much more time on the scroll saw. So, LOL. What did I say something funny, Lawrence? That's not like me. All right, so this sandpaper is getting a little overly done. So, and one thing I really like about this double-sided tape is that it adheres really well the first time. One of the good things and bad things about it is that it doesn't adhere well if you remove the piece and then put it back on. So the good thing about that is you don't, well, the good thing about it is it's relatively easy to get off. The bad thing is that once you've taken something off, you can't really reuse that tape for a similar project. So I'm going to have to put new tape on my new 80 grit. So even though this is a different color, it's still 80 grit. Also still 3M Cubitron. This is just a different version of it. This stuff is actually supposed to be better. But it looks like I might be out of the other stuff. So trying to do that right in half, but I'm not sure why. All right. There we go. All right. And then we want this nice and tight on there so we don't get a lot of wiggle once I'm using it. So, oh, poor scroll saw, yeah. Which tape? Yeah. So I got this tape, double-sided. It is X-Fasten. And I'm sure I've got it listed on a bunch of my videos with an affiliate link on a bunch of the videos. If you want to support the channel, you could do that. But it came in a big old pack of several rolls that's buried under my stack of crap over here. Said stack of crap. Yeah, it got a bunch of it for relatively cheap. So let's see. Good points. Lawrence was gifted a Seiko Street 21. Is that a scroll saw or a different something else? Let's see which tape. Okay. Referring to sack on the porcelain. Okay. Cover project with blue painter's tape and then glue pattern down. Cover project woods. Gotcha. Go digging. Yeah. It's very adhesive on the tape. Let's see. So let me make sure I understand what you're saying here, Lawrence. Cover project with blue painter's tape and then glue pattern down. Okay. Cover the project with wood or cover the project woods and then spray adhesive on the tape. Okay. I think I understand where you're going with that. Maybe not. All right. So I'm going to keep on the sanding here. Now, lately, I've been doing, well, I haven't done a lot of live streams lately, but when I have done live streams, I've typically been doing horizontal view. How do you guys feel about horizontal view versus vertical view? What do you prefer watching? I'm guessing that those of you that are predominantly watching on mobile device would prefer the vertical view. While those that are typically watching on like a computer screen or a laptop or a TV might prefer the horizontal view. What do you guys think? What's your preference there? those of you who might be wondering about the source of this wood, I got this stuff for free. Some business was getting rid of some old shipping containers. And so I just went and salvaged it. So I'm not sure what it is, but it's likely a construction grade softwood, like a Douglas fir or something. Doesn't smell like pine. So I wouldn't think that it's pine, but maybe there's a variety of pine that doesn't smell the way I expect pine to smell. I hope my wife isn't wanting these to be symmetrical because, yeah, they're not. Let's see. Thinking I might benefit from wonder if this is just some Scotch Brite pad, basically. But let me see what else I've got here that might be able to get. Let's see, I have something that's coarser than that. Got something that's finer than that. I don't remember what those roots are supposed to be. Let's see. But Let's see. And as long as I've got my sandpaper bin open, I might as well replenish the 80 grit in my sandpaper holder up here. Let's see. Getting confused. Scroll saw, 21-inch scroll saw. Oh, okay, nice. Let's see if this, it feels somewhat abrasive, but it's probably just not a low enough grit to be very effective here. Well, actually, I feel like I'm getting some benefit. Yeah, I think I just picked this stuff up at Harbor Freight when it was on special a while ago. Don't remember what they called it, but it seems to be helping somewhat at least. Yeah. And it can conform to these non-flat surfaces, curves and everything. So all right. All right. Well, that's pretty much sanded to 80. So let's go down to 120. And I'll put my hearing and vision protection back on. Hey, Benjamin. Thanks for being here. Having breakfast. Here you are live. Roles have changed. Yeah, no kidding. Thanks for being here, Benjamin. Appreciate it. Hey, everybody. Benjamin's got a really cool channel. Does all sorts of in-depth wood turning from Denmark, I believe. So he's often turning early morning on early Sunday mornings, right? That's when I've most often caught you, if I remember correctly. All right, let me see what I've got for, got some 120 that's still usable, or if I need to pull a new one out. And yeah, it looks like I'm pulling out a new one. 120. All right, we'll try with power first, because power is awesome. All right. And hey, Shannon, thanks for joining us. Pretty cool looking angels. Thank you. We're getting there. So for those of you who are joining us who haven't been here from the beginning, this is an angel that my wife bought from Hobby Lobby a few years ago before I was doing any woodworking type stuff. So she wanted me to make something similar. Well, as we were putting away our Christmas decorations this year, she inquired if I'd be able to make something like that. I'm like, maybe. And but she said she wanted bigger wings, and so I made that. And she said that she likes it a lot better. So what do you guys think? Is this better than the Hobby Lobby version? Obviously, this hasn't been finished, and I don't have a stand on it yet, nor do I have a cutesy star attached to it. But then she said she also wanted some smaller, half size. These are a little bigger than half size, but anyway, so we're plugging along here. So I've just done the machine sanding at 120 grit, and now I need to do some not power sanding, hand sanding. So let me get 120 grit paper, and I'll attach it to my piece of oak. And just to show you what I was talking about earlier, let's see if it's let's see if it proves me wrong here. All right, so try to attach that. See, well, maybe that'll stick pretty well. We'll see. Maybe it didn't stick very well yesterday because I was using the different paper, but we'll see how this does. It's actually sticking pretty well. Now, I'm not going to sand nearly as much with the 120 grit as I did with the 80 grit for a couple of reasons. Number one, the 80 grit I needed to use a lot more because I needed to remove all of those bandsaw marks. So in theory, there should be a lot less sanding that needs to be done with the 120 grit than with the 80. The other reason is that I'm going to get really tired of sanding pretty quickly. So whether it needs more sanding or not, it'll be done. And My guess is that my wife is going to want to do something like this for the finish, like a paint of some kind. And so it's not like it's going to be stained and whatever. I think it'll be able to be okay with a few rough spots. Who doesn't love an angel with a little rough around the edges? All right. All right, I think I'm done with that. So we've got a couple more things to do to match the bigger version. First, I need to take it to the router table and round over our exterior edges here. And then for the stuff that's too tight, like here, and in here, I will do the round over as close to the corners as I can. But like in here, I'm going to be chiseling out some area anyway, right in there and in there. And so anything that I can't get with the router, I'll just do with the chisels. So anyway, that's what's up next. So let me get out the router table next. So we'll move the bandsaw out of the way. I think I've already got the power disconnected and the vacuum disconnected. And oh, the board that I was talking about earlier that I thought I might use for this project, but I decided not to. And then here's the bandsaw, the bandsaw fence. So here's the homemade router table. So let me show you the fun features. So it's got router bit there, got a router fence there. This is an old or repurposed kitchen cabinet. So I actually got this cabinet from my brother-in-law. He brought me an old table saw that I eventually kind of fixed up a little bit and then decided I didn't really like it that much and sold it. And so let's see. So yeah, so it's just an old kitchen cabinet. And do I use any lathes? Camera PNG asks. And I do have a lathe. It's right back there. It's a very old lathe. This thing is from the 1930s. So picked that up used as well. I've got some videos about it on the channel. I haven't used it yet, but I have cleaned it up, and it was in pretty filthy state when I first got it. But I got it for so cheap that I didn't really want a lathe at all. My daughter really was the one who wanted the lathe. And so she convinced me that it was cheap enough that I should, get it, even though I didn't really want it at the time. So I've got the lathe, but I haven't really used it for things yet. Then that's a stack of willow that I need to do something with. Stack of maple that I need to do something with. Well, I need to continue drying it. It's more maple that's in my homemade kiln, and it's dry. It's ready to use. So I was going to take that out and stack it somewhere and put this maple in there since it still has a little bit more drying to get done. So back to the router table. So got the router table, router bit, just have a Bosch, I think it's a 1617 EVS in there. So it's a pretty popular version. It's been around for a while. So it's not a new one. I got it used. A lot of what I have, I've got used. And this is my homemade fence. And you can see that I've got little rails on either side so that it fits right on my router table. And then got this little cubby in the back. The way I made this, I can take off the top. I can take off that guy. And then I can take my vacuum hose, stick it right there, put that on top, and then I have to press down a little bit before I can slide that in. So then I've got a pretty well sealed system there, so that pretty much all of the suction comes through right there. For this project, I don't really need a fence, but I'll still use the fence so that I can use the suction, so I don't have tons of stuff all over. So I want the fence as close as I can have it to the bit without interfering with the cut. So we'll see how well I do on that. See, there's some chat there that I need to address. Let's see here. Let's see. Camera PNG says, yes, finally, too many of these lives are full of brain-rotted garbage. Hey, I get to some of that later. Don't worry. We'll get your fill of brain-rotted garbage here too. Great to see my two favorite things in one video, Christianity and woodworking. Sweet. Yeah, the lathe I already talked about. Holy cow, just repurposed an old table. Yep, just an old kitchen cabinet that I got from my brother-in-law. Great idea, never would have thought to do that. But you make a pretty dang good router for a heck of a lot cheaper. Yep, and I actually was just watching a video from someone, I think it's McLean Woodworks, something like that. I really liked what he did. And I thought, wow, if I didn't already have the homemade router, I might have done, or router table, I might have done something similar to what he did. But what he did is he took, just some plywood basically, and attached it to hinges on his workbench, so then he can just pull it up and have the router table on the end of his workbench basically, and then when it's not in use, just collapse the hinges and collapse it down, so then it's out of the way. I was like, hey, that's a pretty good idea too. I really liked the way he did it. So lots of different ideas on making functional router tables. Anyway, so those are some of the features that I like. And then I've got a little, the base on this router allows me to just use a little Allen, T-handle Allen wrench and adjust my height up or down from there. It doesn't allow me to raise it up high enough to where I can change the bit without having to take the router out of the router table. So it'd be nice if I had, more of a true lift to be able to, or maybe a plate that I could, a removable plate that I could, be able to access and change out the bit. But, maybe one of these days we'll get there. So, and okay. So let's see. Similar attachments for those hoses will run you a ton pre-made. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if they have to go. It's 1:02 a.m. Yeah, it's a little after midnight here. You must be Central Time Zone. That being said, definitely subbing, looking over some of your projects. Great, thanks. Appreciate it. Cool designs, mine are practical. Yep. I definitely look for practical in my workshop. We don't have to read these all, just talk a lot. Look on your project. Hey, thanks, appreciate it. And Edmund says hello. Hello, Edmund, thanks for being here. All right, so we're going to round over our edges. So let's see which side. I don't really like these blemishes in the wood, but this has a hole in it. The round over might take off some of that hole, but we've got fewer blemishes on this side. Let's see. That seems a little bit beat up over there and over here. We'll use this as the face, in spite of our little oddities there. All right, so I think we decided that, yeah, this will be our face here. So that needs to be face down. And I need to get my vision and hearing protection back on. And I need to plug in the router and unplug my sander, put it away. All right. And all right, almost ready here. So Let's get you a little closer view. Hopefully the camera doesn't cause too many shadows. Oh, and that's maybe a little too close. Didn't account for the adjustment after I stopped supporting the tripod. So, all right, let's see how well that works. And ear protection back on, and get the vacuum on, and then the router, and then we'll start cutting. All right. So that's what the first one looks like after the router. So got it routed through here up to right here. The router couldn't get to. Router mostly got that cleared out. And then I've got in here and here the router didn't get to. But the rest of that's pretty well rounded. So let's move on to the next one. Again, I'm going to use this side. And you can see how little sawdust there is because the vacuum worked so well. All right, so I'm going to start right there. So get my vacuum and router back on. right, there we go. So again, the router got to right about here, there. So I still need to clean that up. Didn't get in here. Got around there just fine. And I'm gonna add in some detail here anyway with the chisel to clean up some of what the router couldn't get to. All right, so let me put away some of my mess so that I've got more room to work unimpeded. So I just got this sanding bin full of various sanding supplies. I'll slide back under the bench. All these offcuts, just kind of move out of the way. And sanding supplies. All right, get out the chisels. All right, move the big angel out of the way. And I'm gonna vacuum up some of this mess. If my workbench seems kind of shiny, probably because of the spray lacquer and shellac that I've sprayed on stuff over here. So this is a workbench. a lot of YouTube woodworking channels have pristine benches. This is not one of those. So let me start by stropping a bit because I used several of these quite a bit yesterday without stropping at the end. So I'm hoping that these will be sharp enough to actually do some good work. All right, so that's the 1/2 inch. This is the 3/8. And this is the 1/4 inch, not the same 1/4 inch that I was using earlier. This is the Marples set, the original Marples, not the Irwin Marples. Got these used as well. Someone on Facebook Marketplace was getting rid of them. Seems like I got something else from her too, but she didn't have listed. Got the unhandled chisel, the 1/4 inch chisel that I was talking about earlier, is a Narex. So, all right. Okay. So let me get these guys out. And basically, I want to make path in there, about there. And there. About there. Make that a little wider. Yeah, something like that. Okay. And then also something along the neckline here. Whoa. All right. And get out my trusty mallet. Made this out of some non-traditional wood. So this is primarily cedar. So the handle is cedar. This part is cedar, right? But the face plates are oak. So let's see how this goes. Wow. Dropping chisels is not great. Thankfully, I don't think it dropped on the tip. I think I'm still relatively safe there. All right. It didn't go particularly deep when I chiseled out these sections on the taller version. The big version of the Angel. But the feedback I got from my wife was that he probably did want them to be deeper channels. So I'm not changing the one I already did, but I'll try to comply with her wishes on this one. See if I can't go down more instead of so much and might not need the mallet on this. But if I use the mallet, I might be able to get a deeper channel more easily. Actually, I'm going to go with a smaller chisel to do that. But so what I'm trying to do now is not just smooth out the channel, but I also want to remove some of the material right here that didn't get taken by the router, so that it looks like it kind of was rounded over by the router. Try to match up the same profile here that we have here and there. And I have to be careful with the direction that I go, because if I go the wrong direction, it'll start chipping the grain instead of shaving away at it. I may or may not know that because of experience. But sadly, my experience is not so robust that I remember exactly how I need to do it. It does help me recognize when I've gone the wrong direction. Yeah, so I think I'm going the wrong direction here because I'm I'm digging into the grain here. So I think I'm okay to go this direction on this side. But if I go that direction on this side, it's going to dig into my grain and cause it to splinter. So I think I need to come from this side. That should make it a little safer. Don't know if these channels are really any deeper than what I did on the other one. But maybe they're deeper relative to the size of the angel overall. But I think I need to be really careful here because it looks like there's a bit of a knot. It feels like I am going to need the mallet here. Unlike these cuts where I was kind of going with the grain, here I'm having to cut the basically the fibers of the wood. Instead of just prying them up. Okay. Now, let's see. Oh, one thing I thought was funny, as I was showing my wife my handiwork last night, or really early this morning, she was comparing it to the original, from Hobby Lobby. And so as she's looking at this more closely, she's like, what did you do to the head here? So I don't know how well you can tell, but there's basically a chunk right here kind of taken out. And then also over here, a couple of chunks. So it's not very uniform right in there. So it looks like a chunk there, a chunk here. And so she was quite sure that I had dropped it and broken off a piece. But I showed her, explained to her that it's like, see the finish there? Kind of the white paint. That's the same finish as pretty much everywhere else, right? This is how they shipped it. This is how it came from the store. But she's like, no, I didn't notice that before. It must not have been that way. I'm like, no, it was just, you just didn't pay that close of attention to it. When you're looking really closely at stuff, all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, why is that imperfection there? But, when you look at it at the store, you see it from a ways away and you're like, oh, that's so cute. And you don't really pay that close of attention that it's like, oh, there's a chunk here, there's a chunk there. And so when she was noticing imperfections here, I tried not to get too concerned about it because, like, really, you're only noticing it because you're looking at it so closely. So I just started thinking about that after, since I was trying to shape the head here a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, Hobby Lobby's version isn't necessarily any better than what I'm doing. Of course, the Hobby Lobby version, if we're going to take into account my time and effort and everything, cost a whole lot less than these do. Talking about just materials, then these guys are basically free because I got the wood for free. But we're trying to justify making that versus making, or buying that versus making it. Because I think my live last night was over 3 hours long. This one's probably going to be at least that too by the time we're all done. So it's not necessarily most economical. But since I already had the wood for free and I'm trying to develop the know-how, not a bad way to try to learn. By taking something that your wife likes, try to modify it to something she likes even better. Something with bigger wings that I think the way she described it was that it looks more angel-like. I'm not sure how many angels she's seen, but it fits better with her conception of what angel wings should look like. If we're going to give the angel wings, we might as well make them easily visible and distinguishable. I'm going to do a little bit more stropping on this guy because feel like you might need it. And because I don't want to resharpen it, hopefully strapping gets me to where I want to be. For those of you who hadn't already guessed, I'm not exactly an expert at chiseling, so trying to improve my skills here. If any of you are expert chiselers and are willing to share your knowledge with me of what I should be doing differently, please jump in the chat and let me know. Or if you're watching this after the fact, just leave a comment. Yeah, I'm wanting to kind of dig this channel a little deeper, but I also don't want it to cause issues. Yeah, it's like I've got a wider channel here than what I had on the big guy. It might also be a little bit deeper. I'm not sure. See if I can shave off a little bit more over here. All right, I think for the most part, I need to finish that with sanding. And let's see if I find any. There's a little bit of 120. Not sure why I didn't see this earlier. All right. And on to the next. Let me know if you have any suggestions for what I should do differently. And let's see here. Oh, looks like I've got more chat here that I didn't see. So, Mike, more angels, bro. Yep, more angels. How are things? Things going pretty well. How you doing tonight, Mike? Satch got off work. Saw Pilato was live. We're good to catch you live, Pilato. Well, here I am, man. Thanks for joining me. Those some nice looking angels. Make them thinner and angle the wings back. That's an interesting idea. So are you saying have the wings kind of angle back this way? Is that what you're saying? This is a project requested by my wife. For those of you who have recently joined us, she bought this from Hobby Lobby a few years back before I was doing any woodworking stuff. And as we were putting away our Christmas decorations, she saw this and she's like, "Oh, hey, could you make something like that?" I was like, "Probably." But she wanted the wings to be bigger. And so I made this. So pretty similar, just used the same basic design, but then she added the wing detail that she wanted. Note that these wings are much more intricate on the bottom side here. But she also wanted some smaller angels. And let me get the one that I've already chiseled out here. But I convinced her to let me do something a little simpler so that I wouldn't have all of these little angles to try and get in and sand and stuff. So basically, this is just the design that my wife requested to the best of my ability. But that's an interesting idea. Go in and take the wings back, so they're angled back, is what I'm assuming you're meaning, and then use thinner material. Let's see. Yes. Okay. That would be really nice with the wings angled back like that. Yeah. Raspberry Hedgehog, thanks for being here. And Buffy, thanks for being here, just in case I didn't say so earlier. Beautiful. Appreciate it. And nice. Yeah, we're getting there. We're learning as we go. So all right, so I've got this guy left to chisel out, and hopefully I can do it a little better than the last one. But let me just do a little strop into these guys first. Like I said, I'm not all that expert at chisel work or sharpening chisels or stropping chisels for that matter. So if any of you are expert at chiseling or stropping or sharpening, feel free to drop me some advice so I can improve. All right. So again, I'm going to try to make these channels relatively deep. Which is somewhat easy to do on these that are going parallel to the grain. Not as easy to do with the stuff that is perpendicular to the grain, because this is kind of prying up the fibers of the wood, whereas here I'm having to sever those fibers. All right. So back can still be flat. Okay. So you're saying angle the wings so that maybe that's like a 45-degree angle or something. So the back of the piece is still flat, but that's an interesting idea. All right, I'm actually gonna the smaller one here. I feel like that got me a much deeper channel than before. And then similar to the last one, in addition to clearing out these channels, I'm also wanting to match my roundover from the router bit as best I can in these areas that the router bit couldn't get to. So I'm going to try to chisel away what I need to in order to somewhat match that up. Ah, not what I wanted. Switch to the other chisel here. If I can get that. I think this one's got a little bit sharper edge and a better angle than what I was trying to go at it for. Just an idea. Oh, thanks, Buffy. Nice that you're making those for your wife. Yeah. You know what? Sometimes I try to do nice things for her. Most of the time, I just say that I'm doing nice things for her. Oh, sorry for rocking the camera there. For all of those of you who are thinking, oh, wow, I really want to support Gelato Creations as a channel, there are multiple ways you can do that if you'd like. You can become a member of the channel. I think we have memberships for as little as $2 a month, something like that. And then YouTube has their super chat feature. If you want to use that, you're welcome to. There's also some Gelato Creations merchandise available, like my hat. Similar to the hat. The hat isn't actually available yet. My wife just got this for me for Christmas. So we don't have that available on the merchandise stuff yet, but expect to be adding it soon. So for those of you so inclined, those of you who just want to watch, great, love it. Thanks for being here. For those of you who just want to listen, go for it. Many years ago, I was teaching this family, and it was a little bit of a boring lesson, to be fair. We were in their home teaching, and we got done. She's like, Gelato, your voice is so soft and smooth. It just puts me right to sleep. So you're just looking for a cure for insomnia, this might be the place for you. So let's see if this is good enough to sand now. All right. And there's my oak. All right, and then we're back to 120. Started with 80 around the neck here because it's just a lot rougher than next to the wings. So I figured it would probably need some 80 there first before going to the 120. And there we have it. I think that's about all I'm going to do. Except, let's see, I'll put my chisel covers back on the chisels. Those away. And clear out some of these bigger chunks. The sandpaper out of the way. And I'm gonna vacuum up around here a little bit. Of course, I put on my hearing protection first. Let's see. Jim asks, if I have a clamp or a vise. Why, yes. Yes, I do. I've got a Moxon vise right here on the side of the workbench. And then I've got another vise, that I can fit into that vise. So I've got those two vices. I've also got a vise for the drill press. And then clamps. I've got a fair number of clamps. I mean, not nearly as many as a lot of other people, but I've got a bunch of clamps up there. Got a bunch of pipe clamps that are kind of back behind the bucket and stuff that are, take up a lot of the area down there. And then a bunch of smaller, like spring clamps and stuff. So what's your idea? What should I be doing with the vices and clamps? I'm happy to answer questions. And if you're still here, Jim Anderson, thanks for being here, by the way. Let me know what your idea was. I'm always open to learning a better way to do things. So those are the angels as presently constituted. So question, do you think I should add stands to each of these angels, or just let them be? What do you think? Stands or no stands? They can definitely be a little bit more stable with stands, a little bit more of a footprint, especially since these are, have the wider wings, so they're a little bit less stable naturally than this guy would be with or without the stand. So what do you guys think? Should I add stands or no? You're concerned there may be a slip and I could be injured. Yeah. There's always a risk of that, right? With the, I'm presuming you meaning with the chisels. That's, definitely a little bit more precarious than maybe the some of the other activities in which I engage today, like the sanding or the sanding. So let's see if I can. All right. So what do you guys think? Should I put a stand like this on these other angels? You be the judge. What do you think? Should they do it? Let's see if we have any response here. Okay. Maybe a slip. Yeah. And let me disengage the Moxon vise and put the other vise away. Yeah, what I was going to say on a slip, let's just pretend that this is the chisel and that this is my workpiece. One thing I try to be cognizant of, I mean, it's nice if the workpiece is actually secured in a vise or whatever. With the angels, it's a little difficult to put them in a vise just because they're so irregularly shaped, and so I'd probably constantly be trying to move them around, reposition them in the vise in order to get an angle that works. So if I've got a workpiece and I'm trying to chisel, I try to make sure that the blade is always going in a direction away from me, away from all of my body parts. So sometimes I'll find myself, kind of holding it like this and trying to chisel off a little bit here. And I have to kind of remind myself, it's like, okay, my force is going away from my hand, but it probably wouldn't take much to go wrong to suddenly be in a position where the chisel is going into my hand instead of, away from the hand into the wood, whatever. So anytime I kind of find myself where I think there's any chance that the chisel could go into me instead of the wood, then I try to reposition it. And sometimes I just stop, right? And just like, I don't see a safe way to chisel what I was trying to chisel. So thanks for pretending with me that a pencil is a chisel and a strop is a workpiece. So, all right. So these are the angels. One of them purchased. My wife bought this. It says Christmas 2023 on the Hobby Lobby label on the back. Decorative use only, not a toy. So don't try playing with something like this. All right. And yeah. I think I'm done, everybody. So thanks for joining me for the live. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe, hit the like button, and we'll see you next time. Take care.